The Sterling ballroom glittered with champagne flutes and designer gowns. Whispers rippled through the crowd when Arya Sterling entered with him, a man in a simple gray suit, no cufflinks, no watch worth mentioning. He looked like someone who'd wandered in from a coffee shop. But when the groom turned to kiss his bride, he froze, his eyes locked on that ordinary man. The color drained from his face. He released his bride's hands and walked toward him. The ballroom held its breath. But that moment, the one where everything shattered, came later. 3 weeks before the wedding, Jonas sat in the corner of Brew and Page's, a bookstore cafe tucked between a dry cleaner and a bakery on Maple Street. The place smelled like old paper and espresso. He came here every Tuesday and Thursday morning after dropping his daughter at school. No one bothered him. No one knew him. That was the point. He had a paperback open in front of him, something about the Cold War. But he wasn't really reading. He was just sitting, existing. The cafe was nearly empty. A college student typed furiously on a laptop near the window. An older man read the newspaper by the register. And then the door opened. She walked in wearing jeans and a loose sweater, her hair tied back in a ponytail. No makeup, no jewelry. She looked tired. She ordered a black coffee and sat at the table across from him. Jonas glanced up briefly, then back at his book. She didn't look at him at all. That was how it started. Not with conversation. Not with introduction. Just two people occupying the same quiet space. She came back the next week. Same table, same coffee, same tired eyes. This time she brought a laptop and worked in silence. Jonas didn't ask what she did. She didn't ask what he was reading. It was an unspoken agreement. This place was neutral ground. The third week, she forgot her charger. Her laptop died halfway through whatever she was working on. She sighed and closed it, leaning back in her chair. Jonas kept reading, but he could feel her restlessness across the room. "Do you ever feel like the world is too loud?" she asked suddenly. Jonas looked up. She wasn't looking at him. She was staring at her coffee cup. "Every day," he said. She smiled faintly. "Good. I thought it was just me." That was the first real thing they said to each other. Her name was Arya. She didn't tell him her last name. He didn't ask. He told her his name was Jonas. He didn't mention his daughter. She didn't mention her work. They talked about books, about the weather, about nothing important. And it felt like the first honest conversation Jonas had had in years. After that, they fell into a rhythm. Tuesdays and Thursdays. Same cafe, same corner. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they didn't. Arya never wore anything expensive. She never mentioned money or business or the life Jonas assumed she had outside this place. And Jonas never mentioned the fact that he was raising a kid alone, or that his life was a carefully constructed routine designed to avoid attention. One Thursday, Arya showed up looking worse than usual. She sat down heavily, rubbed her face, and ordered 2 shots of espresso instead of her usual black coffee. "Bad day?" Jonas asked. She laughed, but it sounded hollow. "Bad year." He didn't press. That wasn't how they worked. But she kept talking anyway. "My family thinks I don't have a life," she said. "They think all I do is work, and they're right. But the second I try to do something for myself, they have opinions about it." Jonas closed his book. "What kind of opinions?" "The kind that come with conditions," Arya said. She looked at him for a long moment. "Do you have family like that?" "I don't have much family left," Jonas said. "But I remember what it's like to be controlled by people who think they know better." Arya nodded slowly. "I wish I could just disappear sometimes. Just be no one." Jonas understood that more than she knew. They kept meeting. Weeks turned into a month. Then 2. Arya started smiling more. Jonas found himself looking forward to Tuesdays and Thursdays in a way he hadn't looked forward to anything in a long time. She made him feel normal. He made her feel seen. It wasn't love yet, but it was something. Then one Thursday, Arya didn't show up. Jonas waited for an hour. He told himself it didn't matter. People had lives. She probably had a meeting. Or maybe she just didn't feel like coming. But the next Tuesday, she wasn't there either. And for the first time in months, Jonas felt the silence of the cafe press down on him. On Thursday, she finally walked in. She looked different, polished. Her hair was styled. She wore a blazer. She looked like someone important. She sat down across from him and set a cream-colored envelope on the table. "I need to ask you something," Arya said. Her voice was steady, but her hands weren't. "And you can say no. I'll understand if you do." Jonas looked at the envelope. "What is it?" "My sister's getting married," Arya said. "It's in 2 weeks. Big event. My whole family will be there, and I don't want to go alone." Jonas frowned. "You want me to come with you?" "I know it's a lot to ask," Arya said quickly. "I know we don't really know each other that well, but I feel like I can breathe when I'm around you, and I don't feel that way around anyone else, especially not at events like this." Jonas picked up the envelope. The paper was heavy, expensive, the kind of thing that cost more than his rent. "What kind of event are we talking about?" Arya looked down. "The kind where people judge you based on your last name and your net worth. The kind where I have to smile and pretend I'm not being suffocated." Jonas set the envelope down. "Why me?" "Because you don't care about any of that," Arya said. "Because you see me, not the version of me everyone else expects." Jonas thought about his daughter, about the quiet life he'd built, about the fact that he'd spent years avoiding rooms full of people who thought they were better than him. But he also thought about Arya, the woman who came to a tiny cafe just to sit in silence, the woman who looked at him like he was worth knowing. "Okay," Jonas said. Arya blinked. "Okay? I'll go with you." Her expression shifted. Relief, gratitude, and something else Jonas couldn't quite place. Fear, maybe. "You don't have to dress up or anything," she said quickly. "Just be yourself. That's all I need." Jonas nodded, but even as he agreed, he felt the weight of what he was walking into. He'd been to events like this before, a long time ago, in a different life. And he knew exactly how people like Arya's family would look at someone like him. The next week, Arya sent him a text. It was the first time she'd ever messaged him outside of their cafe meetings. The message was short. "Thank you for doing this. I know it's going to be uncomfortable, but I'm glad you'll be there." Jonas stared at the message for a long time before replying. "I'll be there." 3 days before the wedding, Arya's sister sent her a message. Arya showed it to Jonas the next time they met. It was polite, carefully worded, but underneath the politeness was something sharp. "Looking forward to meeting your guest. I took the liberty of sending over a few wardrobe suggestions, just so he feels comfortable. You know how formal these things can be." Attached were links to designer suits. Each one cost more than Jonas made in a month. Arya's jaw was tight when she handed him her phone. "She's testing you," Jonas said quietly. "She's testing both of us," Arya replied. She looked at him. "You don't have to wear any of that. I don't care what you wear." "But she does." Arya didn't deny it. Jonas handed the phone back. "I'll wear what I always wear. If that's a problem for her, she can take it up with you." Arya smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "They're going to judge you." "I know. They're going to make you feel like you don't belong." "I know that too." Arya looked at him for a long moment. "Then why are you still coming?" Jonas thought about it. He thought about the cafe, about the way Arya's shoulders relaxed when she sat across from him, about the fact that she'd trusted him with something real. "Because you asked," he said simply, and that was the truth. It wasn't about the wedding. It wasn't about her family. It was about the woman who'd found him in a quiet corner of the world and decided he was worth knowing. The morning of the wedding, Jonas put on his gray suit. It was clean. It fit well enough. But it wasn't expensive. It didn't have a designer label. It was just a suit. He looked at himself in the mirror and saw exactly what Arya's family would see. A man who didn't belong in their world. But he went anyway. Arya picked him up in a car that cost more than his house. She looked beautiful. Her dress was simple but elegant, dark blue and understated. She smiled when she saw him, but there was tension in her eyes. "You look great," she said. Jonas got in the car. "You look nervous." "I am." They didn't talk much on the drive. The wedding was at a private estate an hour outside the city. The kind of place that required an invitation just to get through the gate. When they arrived, Jonas saw exactly what he'd expected. Valets in white gloves, marble fountains, a ballroom that could fit 200 people comfortably. Arya took his arm as they walked in. People turned to look. Jonas felt their eyes on him immediately. He heard the whispers, saw the glances. A man in a cheap suit, a woman worth millions. It didn't add up, and everyone knew it. Arya's grip on his arm tightened. "Ignore them." "I am," Jonas said. But he wasn't. He saw every look, felt every judgment, and he knew, long before the ceremony even started, that this night was going to cost him more than he'd expected. They found their seats near the front. Arya's mother glanced at Jonas once, her expression carefully neutral. Her sister, Clarissa, smiled at them from across the room, but it was the kind of smile that didn't mean anything. And the groom, Marcus, didn't even look their way. Not yet. The ceremony began. The officiant spoke. The bride and groom exchanged vows. And Jonas sat quietly beside Arya, feeling the weight of a world that had never been his and never would be. Then Marcus turned to kiss his bride, and everything stopped. Marcus froze mid-motion. His lips hovered an inch from Clarissa's, but he wasn't looking at her anymore. He was looking past her shoulder, past the officiant, past the rows of guests in their designer clothes and practiced smiles. He was looking directly at Jonas. The color drained from his face. Clarissa noticed first. Her smile faltered. She touched his arm, confused, but Marcus didn't respond. He just stared. And then, slowly, he released her hands. The officiant cleared his throat. "You may now." But Marcus was already walking, down the steps of the altar, past the front row where Arya's mother sat, frozen in shock, past the bridesmaids, who exchanged nervous glances. He walked straight toward Jonas. The ballroom went silent. Jonas didn't move. He sat perfectly still, his expression unreadable, as Marcus stopped in front of him. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Marcus dropped his head. "Sir," he said quietly. The word cut through the silence like a blade. Arya's hand tightened on Jonas's arm. She looked at Marcus, then at Jonas, trying to understand what was happening. But Marcus wasn't done. "You saved my company," Marcus said, his voice shaking. 3 years ago, when I was about to lose everything. When every investor had walked away and the banks wouldn't touch me. You were the only one who believed in me. You gave me a second chance." The room erupted in whispers. Marcus straightened, his eyes wet. "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be standing here today. I wouldn't have any of this. I owe you everything." Jonas said nothing. He just looked at Marcus with the same calm, measured expression he always had. But inside, something was collapsing. Arya turned to him, her face pale. "Jonas?" Marcus looked around the room, addressing everyone now. "This man is Jay Vale. Some of you have heard the name. Most of you have spent years trying to find him. He's the investor who's funded half the startups in this city, the one who turned no names into empires. And he did it all without ever asking for credit." The whispers turned into a roar. People stood. Phones came out. Aria's mother covered her mouth. Clarissa stood frozen at the altar, her bouquet hanging limp in her hands. Aria's voice was barely a whisper. "Jay Vale?" Jonas finally moved. He stood slowly, his hand slipping out of Aria's grip. He looked at Marcus with something close to exhaustion. "This wasn't supposed to happen." Marcus shook his head. I know you don't want attention, but I couldn't let you sit here and be treated like you don't matter. Not after everything you've done." Jonas's jaw tightened. He glanced at Aria. She was staring at him like she'd never seen him before, like he was a stranger. "We should go," Jonas said quietly. But before he could move, Aria's mother was there. She crossed the ballroom in seconds, her heels clicking against the marble floor. She reached for Jonas's hand. Her expression transformed into something warm and desperate. "Mr. Vale," she said breathlessly. "I had no idea. If I'd known, if any of us had known." Jonas pulled his hand back. "You didn't need to know." "But we do now," she said, smiling too wide. "And we're so honored to have you here. Please, stay for the reception. We'd love to talk more. There are so many people here who would benefit from meeting you." Jonas looked at her, really looked at her, and he saw exactly what he'd always known would happen. The shift, the recalculation, the sudden interest in a man they'd ignored 10 minutes ago. "No," he said simply. Aria's mother blinked. "I'm sorry?" "I said no." Jonas's voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. "I'm not staying, and I'm not interested in being introduced to anyone." He turned to Aria. She was still staring at him, her face a mixture of shock and hurt. "We need to talk." Aria didn't move. "You're Jay Vale." "Yes, the Jay Vale, the one everyone's been trying to find for years." "Yes." Her voice cracked. "Why didn't you tell me?" Jonas looked around the ballroom. Everyone was watching. Everyone was listening. He could feel the weight of their attention pressing down on him like a physical thing. "Not here." But Aria wasn't done. "How long were you planning to keep this from me?" "I wasn't keeping it from you," Jonas said. "I was keeping it from this." He gestured at the room, at the people who were already pulling out business cards, at Aria's mother, who was still hovering nearby with that desperate smile. "This is why I left that world. This is why I don't tell people who I am." Aria's eyes were wet now. "But I'm not them. I'm not." She stopped, swallowed. "I thought we were honest with each other." Jonas felt something crack inside him. "We were." "No," Aria said. Her voice was shaking. "We weren't. I told you everything. I told you about my family, about how suffocating my life is, about how I can't trust anyone because everyone wants something from me. And you just sat there and let me talk. You let me think you were different. I am different. Are you?" Aria looked at him. Really looked at him. "Because right now, you feel like everyone else. Just another person with secrets." Jonas opened his mouth to respond, but Clarissa was suddenly there, her wedding dress rustling as she moved. She looked between Aria and Jonas, her expression tight. "Can we not do this right now? This is my wedding." Aria turned on her. "Your wedding? Your wedding where you and Mom spent the last 2 weeks making sure I knew Jonas wasn't good enough? Where you sent me links to $1,000 suits because you were embarrassed by him?" Clarissa's face flushed. "I was trying to help." "You were trying to control me," Aria said. "Like you always do, like Mom always does. And I let you because I thought—" She stopped, looked at Jonas. "I thought at least one person in my life wasn't lying to me." Jonas felt the words land like blows. "I never lied. You didn't tell the truth either." The ballroom was still watching, still listening. Jonas could see phones recording, could see people leaning in to catch every word. He'd spent years avoiding this exact moment, and now it was happening anyway. He took a breath. "You're right. I should have told you. But I didn't know how to do it without this happening." He gestured at the crowd. "Without becoming a transaction." Arya's expression shifted. For a second, he thought he saw understanding, but then she shook her head. "You didn't trust me." "That's not—" "You didn't trust me," she repeated, her voice breaking. "You thought I'd treat you differently if I knew. You thought I'd want something from you." Jonas didn't answer, because she was right. That was exactly what he'd thought. Arya stepped back. "I need some air." She walked away. Jonas watched her go, feeling the weight of every eye in the room on his back. Clarissa glared at him, then hurried after her sister. Arya's mother stood frozen, clearly unsure whether to comfort her daughter or chase after the billionaire investor who'd just been exposed. Marcus approached slowly. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." Jonas held up a hand. "It's not your fault." "I just wanted them to know," Marcus said quietly. "I wanted them to see who you really are." Jonas looked at him. "They don't see who I am. They see what I can do for them. There's a difference." He turned and walked out of the ballroom. No one tried to stop him, but he could feel them watching, could feel the shift in the room. He wasn't Jonas anymore. He was Jay Vale, and that name came with expectations he'd spent years trying to escape. Outside, the night air was cold. Jonas found a bench near the fountain and sat down. He could hear the murmur of the reception starting up again inside. Could hear music, laughter, people pretending nothing had happened. He pulled out his phone. No messages. He didn't expect any. Arya was probably somewhere inside, trying to process what she'd just learned. And he didn't blame her for being angry. He'd known this would happen eventually. He just hadn't expected it to hurt this much. Footsteps approached. Jonas looked up. It was Arya's mother. She sat down beside him without asking, smoothing her dress carefully. "That was quite a scene," she said lightly. Jonas didn't respond. She tried a different approach. "I want to apologize for the way we treated you. If we'd known, you'd have treated me differently," Jonas finished. "I know." She smiled, but it was tight. "You can't blame us for that. You have to understand. We had no idea who you were." "And that's the problem," Jonas said quietly. He looked at her. "I'm the same person I was an hour ago. The only thing that changed is what you think I'm worth." Her smile faltered. "That's not fair, isn't it?" Jonas stood. "Your daughter sent me links to designer suits because she thought I'd embarrass her. You looked at me like I was a stain on your family's reputation. And now you're sitting here apologizing because you found out I have money. Tell me how that's fair." Arya's mother opened her mouth, then closed it. She had no answer. Jonas walked back toward the building. He needed to find Arya, needed to explain, needed to fix this before it broke completely. But when he reached the ballroom, he saw her standing near the bar with Clarissa. They were talking in low, urgent voices. Arya's face was red. Clarissa was gesturing wildly. Jonas approached slowly. Clarissa saw him first. Her expression hardened. "I think you've done enough damage for one night. I need to talk to Arya," Jonas said. "She doesn't want to talk to you." "Let her tell me that." Arya turned. Her eyes were still wet, but her voice was steady. "She's right. I don't want to talk to you. Not right now." Jonas felt the words hit him. "Arya, you made me feel like an idiot," she said quietly. "I stood up for you. I told my family you were different, that you didn't care about money or status, and the whole time, you were exactly what they are, just better at hiding it." "That's not true, isn't it?" Arya's voice rose. "You have more money than my entire family combined. You're one of the most powerful investors in the country. And you let me sit there and complain about my life like you couldn't relate. Like you didn't understand what it's like to be judged for your net worth. Jonas shook his head. I do understand. That's why I didn't tell you. Because the second people know, that's all they see. I didn't want you to see me that way. So you lied. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything. Arya laughed, but it was bitter. That's the same thing, Jonas, and you know it. Clarissa put a hand on Arya's shoulder. Come on, let's go fix your makeup. You shouldn't have to deal with this tonight. But Arya didn't move. She just looked at Jonas. I thought you were safe. I thought you were the one person in my life who wanted me for me. Not for my name, not for my money, just me. I do want you, Jonas said. That's why I'm here. No, Arya said. You're here because I asked. And you said yes because you felt sorry for me, because you thought you were doing me a favor. That's not. I need you to leave, Arya said. Her voice was quiet, but final. I need you to leave and let me figure out what's real and what's not. Jonas stared at her. He wanted to argue, wanted to explain, but he could see the wall she'd built between them, could see the hurt in her eyes, and he knew that anything he said right now would only make it worse. So he nodded. Okay. He turned and walked out, past the guests who were still whispering, past Marcus, who looked like he wanted to apologize again, past Arya's mother, who was now surrounded by people asking about Jay Vale. Jonas didn't stop. He walked straight to the valet, got his keys, and drove away. The city lights blurred as he drove. He didn't go home. He couldn't. Instead, he drove to Brew and Page's. The cafe was closed, but he parked outside anyway and sat in the dark. This was where it had started, where he'd been, just Jonas.